I am telling you, never look at it. Kama mukajistemera mumwoyo kusvikira imi vese vasvika chitunha chifika kamuka. Asi problem iripo nayo ndeyekuti there is a person anoda kutenda kusolva things that do not work. Your scenarios are not working. Haisi kutomboda kuita rocket scientist. Haisi kutomboda kushandisa blessed dream money. Ukangoshandisa even your sense of feeling inokutaura kuti this thing. Yeah, but chinhu chamuri kusoma. When the distant relationship is on code, you should accept it. Ingava nyange kuti kudhara vati munhu aiti akafa ari mumba hatisina masikopisisi waingona mbuya wotora chinhu woisa pati hakuna zvedima just
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's segment of ZVirimugango. And our topic today is marriage, fantasies, and reality. And today we are looking at this topic in relation to the fantasies and realities. This is reality for the women. I would like to welcome our presenters. That's Dr. Alaisa. Dr. Alaisa, please show yourself. Thank you. That's Dr. Alaisa. Dr. D. Dr. D, please show yourself. It appears Dr. D is not yet with us. Nonetheless, we will get started. And with us here is Elder Machando. Elder Machando, show your face to the... There's Elder Machando. Before we get into that, we would ask the elder to start us off with a word of prayer. Could you pray for us, Elder Machando?
Shall we pray? Our Father, as we discuss, may the Holy Spirit lead us, and may thy power be seen in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much, Elder. To get us started, Dr. Alaisa, could you just give us a definition of what fantasy means and what reality means? Dr. Alaisa, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, I think this topic on fantasies and realities is such an interesting topic. When I tried maybe to look around on these issues of fantasies, but as a definition, I would think that a fantasy is something that you think about, something pleasant that you think about, that you want to happen, something that you, yeah. So unfortunately, the likelihood of that thing happening is low. So a fantasy is a pleasant situation that you often think about, that you often want for it to occur, but it is unlikely going to happen. It is also something like an unrealistic or improbable mental image that a person has in response to your psychological need. So a fantasy is something which is unrealistic, something which is likely not going to happen, something which is improbable, mental image that one has in their mind. Okay, I think that's the way that I can define a fantasy.
Thank you. Improbable, unlikely to happen. Dr. D, welcome, and I'm glad you've joined now. Would you like to add anything to that? That definition of fantasy. Is there anything you want to add there?
Yes. So fantasy, I would refer to it as the ideal world, where you live happily ever after. You know, so it's surrounded by the ideal, what we would want in a perfect world. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I want us to highlight that fantasizing and fantasy is not necessarily a bad thing. It's what anybody would want, the ideal, the perfect. Thank you.
So I like the words highly improbable, like chances of this thing happening are very low. Is this true, Dr. D? Our fantasies unlikely ever to be realized. Is that true? Or can our fantasies become reality?
I don't want to think that they are highly unrealistic, which is why we dream, and we want to dream big. And what we just want to keep at the back of our minds is that it's not all dreams that come true. Some of those we wake up and the dream is gone, and it was just happening when you were sleeping. but there are some dreams that can actually become true. So it's okay to fantasize, but we need then to wake up to reality and see that we might try to make the fantasy or the dream come true, but if it doesn't, it was a dream and it may not be reality.
So while we still have you, Dr. D, I'd like you to touch on the issue of reality and our attitude towards it. How that shapes the reality as we perceive it, and if there's anything that our attitude does in our acceptance of reality.
So as we are talking about this, I quickly think of some of the challenges that we find that people come with, real life challenges that happen. When someone is so engrossed in fantasy, in like they are engrossed in what they wish would be the reality, it might be helpful maybe if I speak using practical examples. So maybe I find that parents, for example, find their children abusing drugs, maybe drinking, using cannabis, using cocaine and all that kind of stuff. Because these parents are so fixated in believing that they are perfect parents and they are doing everything, they are Christians. Even a lot of Christians, they live in a lot of fantasies, even adults, not accepting that things can go wrong, children can make their own decisions and go astray, right? So you find if people are in denial of negative things, it will be very hard for them to adjust. It will be very hard for them to confront the reality and deal with it, because they will still deny that they don't have that problem. I find lots of women who get into marriages thinking that they are going to live happily ever after, failing to accept certain realities of life. Say maybe husband cheats, or maybe husband dies, or they cannot have children. Those are realities of life. But the live happily ever after gives us a notion that we are going to get married, we are going to be always happy, we are going to be friends, we are going to have money all the time, we'll have nice looking children, but that's not reality. You might give birth to a child who is disabled. So when people fail to then adjust to the reality, which is usually harsh, that's why you find that when people talk about reality, they usually use, they qualify it with that word, harsh reality. If people are not prepared to face harsh reality, then they will have problems. They will not be able to adjust. They will not be able to cope. That's where we have some women or people committing suicide or becoming depressed, because they cannot handle what is there.
Thank you, Dr. D. So there you have it. We have fantasies, we have reality, and perception of that reality that help us map through our way in life. Elder, what do you have to say on this topic?
I think maybe one thing that we should also zero on before we get deeper into this one, is it good to fantasize? And how does one adjust from the world of fantasy to the world of reality? Especially with the young people. They intend to get married, they have a life out there, they are going somewhere. Won't dreams propel them into getting somewhere? And at what point should they then cease to live in the world of fantasy and live in the world of reality? Is it bad for a person who is dating to be fantasizing?
Dr. Alaisa, do you want to attend to that one?
Yes, I want to start by going to the definition which was given by Dr. D. What I think is, at least from the reading that I was doing, there's a difference between a fantasy and a dream.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we mix these two words, it can be a challenge, because if you are a dream, at least from what I got, is a dream is something which propels you into action. Like I have a big dream for my life. It's something which propels you into action, but a fantasy does not propel you into action. A fantasy, you have this notion that things will just sail. I will just when I get married, like the examples which Dr. D was giving. So you thinking that we have money throughout, like things will just flow on their own.
Okay.
So having a dream about a happy marriage is different from fantasizing on having a happy marriage. So to me, I think, and speaking on to what the elder was asked, is it wrong to have a fun? If your fantasies are not going to propel you into action and you are going to think that things will happen on their own, I'll just have a happily ever after marriage. Things don't work like that. Things don't work like that. I mean, we all have maybe those times when you're fantasizing on this, but staying on, I think what I can actually say is sometimes when you are fantasizing a lot, you lose sight of what is real. So that becomes a challenge for a young person. If you're fantasizing, all you're doing is fantasizing, you lose sight of what is real. And sometimes you exchange your realities for something that never existed. You are in a relationship, you're actually seeing that this guy cheats. But to you, you have this fantasy in your head that maybe the time that you are going to be pronounced husband and wife is going to be magical. My husband is going to be faithful. That one, it becomes crippling. I can actually say that sometimes fantasies can lead you into disappointment. Fantasies can be destructive, and actually they are actually a disillusionment, where you are setting up yourself for failure by not actually trying to find, by living in things that do not exist, setting expectations that cannot be met even by yourself. So we need to be realistic. Fantasies, spending the whole time fantasizing about things and you not propelling yourself into action sets you up for disappointment and misery and distraction. Actually, fantasies can actually be paralyzing, because you're all dreaming of, all you have is fantasizing about a happy marriage, about all this thing that my husband is going to be pampering me with all the goodies day in, day out.
You wanted to add something, Elder?
Yeah, I prefer, and I would want us to be very practical, because we have all been youths, we have all dated, we have all been in courtship, and let's be very practical so that we are clear. We want the young people to be clear on what a dream is, what fantasy is. In terms of real life, we need to bring these things to the table, and we need to analyze them from a practical position when they are right on the table.
Dr. D, you want to take that one?
Yes, I want to say both speakers are actually saying very fundamental things. One thing can be a dream, and it can also turn into a fantasy, as Dr. Eliza says. You might be imagining something, or you might be imagining something that maybe is attainable. That is a dream. But if you're imagining something that is not doable, something that's, so we call it being out of touch with reality, something that's not possible, then it becomes a fantasy. And if you live in that world, it's as if you are living, sometimes the words are used interchangeably. You find that when people are saying you are living in a dream, what they are actually saying is you are living in fantasy. I don't know if that makes sense. Or you are dreaming, that's a dream. You are dreaming. They are not necessarily saying if you work hard, it's going to happen. They're actually still wanting to say that's fantasy, that's not real. So basically what we are just saying, it may be long and short, is we are talking about things that are not real, would be real in an ideal world. Okay, and we know that there is no ideal world. That's why we are at standstill with COVID right now. Even in the first world countries. So there is no ideal world, and we do not expect anything to be ideal. I mean, to be perfect.
Okay. I think with those introductory words from both doctors, we will dive into the actual fantasies that our young ladies have before getting into marriage, and then are rudely welcomed by reality. Dr. Lisa, do you want to give us your first two fantasies that young ladies will have before marriage?
Yes, I would like to start by saying maybe I'm thankful to my friends who were able to share with me some of the fantasies that they had before they got married. I asked some friends, I shared, and they sent me their fantasies. So I'm really thankful. So what I'm going to share are some of the things, the responses that I got from different people. So I think one of the major fantasies which I got from married women is they always had this fantasy that when you get married, everything will be romantic. Your husband will be showering you with gifts day in, day out, and not only waiting for major events like your birthday or anniversary, but every time this guy will be coming. Because the time that they were dating, or the guy is bringing you things, whether he's coming to meet you at college, he's coming to meet you at your workplace, he's bringing you a small something. He's even sending you airtime, he's sending you things. But now when you get married, that thing just dries up, or it's not reality. So it's something which gets you off guard. Because all along, this guy has been pampering you with gifts and lavishingly pampering you with love. Now, when reality comes, maybe he doesn't have that time to be pampering you like that. Now he has bills to pay. Now maybe children have come into the picture. So you are not, maybe you become a by the way thing, that he even forgets to tell you I love you. Before the I love yous were morning, afternoon, evening. He's sending you I love you message, I love you this, I love you that. Now when you get married, that I love you maybe has to be reminded when we go to a wedding, and the pastor is saying, when he's saying to the people in the crowd, tell your wife next to you that you love them, or something like that. So we as ladies, we have this fantasy that when I get married, I'm still going to be the center of my husband, the center of everything. Maybe his world revolves around me when I get married. And you are actually, it turns out that that's not the real world, unfortunately. And maybe the second fantasy, which I got pretty much from everyone who shared with me their fantasies, is the issue of sex. Most of the people imagining, because we grow up in the church, we are told that no sex before marriage, sex is for marriage, undefiled bed, like that marriage bed, and God has made it. So you get into marriage imagining or thinking that this is a wow thing every day. It's something that the reason why it's being denied before marriage, it's because every day I'm going to be wowed by sex through and through, and I'm going to be enjoying it through and through. But lo and behold, when you get there, sometimes there are some women who even get to menopause without even experiencing the beauty of sex. They may get, they actually get surprised. What is this? Why were people making it sound like it's something? Because they get married, they have children, they finish giving birth, but there's nothing that they even feel. So it's one fantasy, I think, that many ladies, you get surprised that to begin with, the sex is not a 24/7 thing. Number two, you may not even enjoy it. when we are looking at the times, maybe you are using family planning tablets, which may lower your libido to extent that you don't even want that sex, or after maybe when you're pregnant, hormonal things that happen when you are pregnant after giving birth, all those things, they will make you sometimes even resent sex. Or even when you are up to it, maybe the guy is not giving you time, attention. So there's a sex hype that unmarried people have. You think when you get married, it's going to be this. When you get inside, it's far from it. There's
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Alaisa. So the first thing that comes to my mind is that romance, being loved, and sex, should they even, I'm thinking to myself, these are attainable things, surely. These are things that are doable, that any woman should be entitled to get from their husband. Why does it reside in the realm of fantasy instead of reality? Why is it that women will get into marriage and then there's no I love you ever said to them, and there's no good sex waiting for them? Why is that the reality? Elder, I think that's yours.
I think on this one, we need psychologists here and sociologists, because there are some things that are said to be attainable. Like, for example, everyone else desires to own a very nice car. And it's attainable, it's available in the motor vehicle display center. But by the end of the day, the pocket might not allow you to do so. So by the end of the day, you might propel yourself towards a goal that is very attainable, but not by you. So by the end of the day, when this issue about sex is being discussed, it is discussed as though it is a constant. As long as you are available and the apparatus are there, you are going to enjoy. But people do not then discuss other factors that might come into play. This is the reason why we put it to the side of fantasy, where people have a constant on something that is very variable.
Thank you. Thank you. Wise words from the elder. Dr. D, before you give us your two fantasies you want to talk on, do you want to just comment on this issue of why that should even reside in the fantasy counter? Because for me, sex, hey, I should be allowed to have good sex with my husband and enjoy it every day if I want it. And the elder should be telling me I love you every day. Not every day, many times a day. Do you want to comment on that?
Okay. You have started with a sad reality, Dr. Alaisa. Sometimes sex it's a myth that life is all about sex. In fact, if we look at a day, sex does not even qualify for maybe 1% of the time that you're going to put in 24 hours, like less than 1%. And I've even put it at 2 hours, which is not practical for a lot of people. It's still less than one, like a percentage of your day. So the reality about sex is that there are a lot of things that are involved for there to sex culminating into a beautiful thing. We will start by cultural expectations, what we've been taught about sex. Some people have been taught that it's embarrassing, it's dirty, it's, some people have been taught to not talk about it, and so they will not be open to discuss sexual things, sexual issues. We find these challenges mostly even in women, where you are not expected to want it too much, because then you might appear like, what do you know about it? How did you get to know about it? And I'm wondering, how do men know about it? How are they expected to know about it? So it's true that there are a lot of women who never experience the beauty of life, the beauty of sex even. Like maybe the houses, they're filled, their families with 8, 9 children, but they never enjoyed each or any of those encounters. Part of it is to do with culture. Part of it is to do with ignorance, with men who think they know it all and they think they can do it without making it a board meeting, as Elder said the other time, where people discuss and they can speak freely about it. So some of the telltale signs start in courtship. How much are you open with each other? How much can you express to each other? And you should know that if you are not open, if you can't talk freely, if you can't give suggestions, if someone is the professor and you're always the student, that's going to awaken, like you are going to get a rude awakening even when you get married. And the other thing about sex is that there are a lot of other realities which constitute 99% that 99% of the time in a day. There are responsibilities, there is food to put on the table, there is relationships, because for sex to be meaningful, you need to have built it, you need to have worked towards it, which is also another thing that we need to think of when we are dating. Are you guys friends? Do you click? Do you like each other? What do you like about each other? If you are going to only like his pocket and not like how he, you know, the smell of his breath, those are realities. When you now see your person without makeup, without the Brazilian wig, you know, when you see the real person snoring, you know, after a day's work, and they are sweaty, you know, those realities come into play, including many other realities. And then sex, the happily ever after, the stars that people describe in novels and what we see on social media, then becomes a fantasy. So those are some of the fantasies. And now to what I had on my list of fantasies that people come across. I totally agree that there are physical problems that people have, as Munashe says there in the chat, about, so Dr. Eliza spoke about the hormones, spoke about medication that might interfere with how you experience the sex itself. There are other things that I'd actually forgotten to talk about. The attractions, physical attraction, for example. A lot of people think, if I'm physically attracted to this person, it's going to be like that forever. But bodies change. So if you loved each other for sex and for physical attraction, maybe skin color, yellow bone, or whatever, you find that after sex, there's life to live. When you wake up in the morning or whatever time you've done it, there is life to live. So those realities are harsh, and you find that the encounters, if there is nothing else that your relationship is hinged upon, we have a problem. Let me go to my realities. Some fantasies that we come across. So people get married, properly seeing that this person is a problem, but believing they are going to change the problem. Actually waiting for when they get married to then change that person. And this is a fantasy. What we advise when working with young people, if you are seeing certain things that you don't like in that person, imagine that that quality or that trait is going to actually multiply, because it often does. So you never get married hoping to change someone, ignoring all the red flags and just thinking, when I get married, I'm going to, I'm quite sure he'll change. And even that person, I often find that when people are now married and they are now thinking in retrospect, they will say, he said, you are the only person who understands me. Everybody else doesn't understand me. Don't ever buy that trash. Just know that whatever you are struggling with, it's going to multiply. And if this person grew without you for 32 years, and circumstances around that person did not change him, his parents did not change him, it's highly unlikely that you are going to change him. So brace up for that quality to multiply if he was stingy, if she didn't know how to dress well, if she couldn't cook, just imagine that it's going to get worse. So that you are not going to have a rude awakening. So hoping to change someone is a fantasy. Imagine how difficult it is to change yourself. How easy is it for you to be able to change another person? It's difficult. So that's one of the fantasies. Another fantasy that we find amongst Christians is to think that when you are married to a Christian, maybe he's Pathfinder director, or he's youth leader, or he's even a youth elder, you are going to live happily ever after. So a lot of Christians live in denial. They get shocked when they find that an elder is just a human being. A pastor is just a human being who is also sinful, who has shortcomings. So those unrealistic expectations bring about a rude awakening in some people. And unfortunately, some people don't wake up to the rude, they still try to live in fantasy, and they still try to imagine that their person is perfect. So even if you are married to a Christian, ladies and gentlemen, that person will not be perfect. He will still be a person. And it's actually safe to expect anything and everything to happen, including cheating. Sorry, but those are the realities.
Dr. D, thank you very much. I do believe that ignoring red flags and thinking marriage will change this person, that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy straight from the book. And also thinking because he is a Christian, he will not do these things. That's another fantasy, because a Christian is somebody who has acknowledged that they are a sinner. And that does not necessarily make them any better than the next person. So thank you for bringing those two fantasies that we are prone to sink into when our chips are down. And I hope those who need to hear this and understand this have taken note. Elder, do you have something to say before we move to Dr. Laisa?
Yeah, 2 or 3 issues. Like what we have here on our chart. You see, there are some people who have a habit of saying, it was just a mistake. It was just a mistake. You are the only one I love. And by the end of the day, you realize when you get there that what they called a mistake is exactly who they are. So by the end of the day, because you are in a world of fantasy, you remove reality from the center stage. When in real life, reality is exactly what it is that is happening there. And there is one thing that I also want to take note of. When we grew up, people were always getting to rehabilitation centers. But one thing I have noticed, there are some people who have been going to rehabilitation centers ever since, and until now, they are permanent members there. Why? Because their condition can only be to a certain level, but not be eradicated. So by the end of the day, fantasizing and believing that you are going to rehabilitate someone and excluding the fact that this person might require rehabilitation forever is not good for us. What we need to know is, should we admit someone else by the back door? He might continuously live his life entering through the back door.
Okay, thank you very much, Elder. Dr. Laisa, you want to move on to your next two fantasies that girls are likely to get into? Dr. Laisa, you are on mute.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to add on to what Dr. D spoke to earlier, the fantasy that we, maybe many Christians have, that we will not, when you get married to a pastor, to an elder, everything will be smooth, no issues in the marriage. I think one of the why that fantasy is perpetuated into marriage is when people are dating, there's lots of pretense during the courtship stage. So something that I really think this is annoying, I will just pretend that everything is okay with me. I will not say it up for the fear of losing my boyfriend. So I will not even show him the bedside or this guy will not show me the bedside because they say rinonyenga rinowarara. So this guy will put up a show that is the best person ever. If he's a pastor, if he's an elder, you put up a show that is the most holy person that you've ever found in the land of mortals. So this pretense, which is there in courtship, brings about this fantasy that when you get married, you get this rude awakening. So it is important, maybe during courtship, that we may try to be as real as possible. And also the issue that was mentioned earlier, that don't ignore red flags. Even in their pretense, sometimes you may see few red flags which you are not supposed to ignore. And let me move to maybe my next two fantasies. One of the fantasies which I received from many people is the issue of in-laws. When you are dating, you are visiting your boyfriend's place, maybe everyone there likes you, but you get to a sad reality that maybe your mother-in-law does not like you when you are now married. You are you get to their home thinking that they will accept you, you'll be part of them, like there's going to be a smooth transition. They are going to make you like what you hear at maybe at your kitchen parties, that they are telling you that this is now your mother, your husband's mother is now your mother, you should love her the way you love your own mother, you should do this. Now when you get there, you think it's going to be an automatic, like it's going to be like just the moment she sees me, she's going to embrace me like her own daughter. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that. You find struggling, trying to, you do this, it's misinterpreted. You get to maybe to the aunt, your husband, sister, it's misinterpreted. So yeah, many people shared that it's something that they expected. They fantasized having a very good relationship with their in-laws, but the reality turned out to be something else. So in as much as we strive to have good relations with our in-laws, sometimes it doesn't happen like that. It's unfortunately, it doesn't happen. It doesn't come as easy as it's said, that when you go and love your mother-in-law like your own mother, it doesn't come like that.
Can I add on to that? Because I also had that fantasy where either you are expecting everyone to love you, and we get Varora's sister-in-laws, brother-in-law, Akwasha, getting surprised that people don't love them, right? And one of the way we've dealt with this, so they'll say they will be surprised that the people don't love them, or that people are saying stuff about them. And one of the ways we usually use to try and resolve that is to say, if you are being honest, yourself, when you are with your sisters, don't you talk about others? Don't you say your real opinion about those people, right? And if you are going to be honest, you'll find that you also say stuff about others. You also say stuff about where you are married, okay? Or we also ask, okay, you are expecting, yeah, they don't even like me, they don't like me. Do you like all his relatives, like all of them? It's not, that's a fantasy, because we are human, and maybe those people have provoked you, or maybe there is a reason why you may not like them, or they may not like you. Other fantasies are actually, the fantasy that things are going to be okay, everyone is going to like me, are overlooking certain realities. Maybe you are not the first girlfriend or the first boyfriend, and this person was involved with someone that was different from you, who might have been more appealing to the family or to the friends. So you can't throw that away, because it is a reality. You can't be perfect, beating everyone who was there before you. So it's possible that people actually preferred somebody else, and they don't quite like you, maybe because they are not used to you, or maybe you are not necessarily likable, which is also another harsh reality. So I like the fact that you've brought that up, because I came across that a lot, where people then get surprised as to why do they not like me? I don't know what I did. There are many reasons why people may not like you. And some of the reasons may have nothing to do with you as an individual, but those are realities. People may not like you. And another fantasy is for people in this group to expect their spouses to love everyone in their family. Why are you not getting along with my sister, with my brother? We pray that people get along, but it's a fantasy that your spouse is going to get along with everyone. So wake up to reality. It may be possible to still have a happy marriage, accepting that my wife and my sister, they don't quite click. It's okay, because that's how it is. The harsh realities that men were telling us the other time. So don't expect that your spouse has to love everyone in your family, because I wonder if you also love like everyone, it may not be possible.
You put a lot of sense to that, Dr. D. But I do want to get into a family where my husband's mother will appreciate me and like me, where his father will appreciate me and like me. Maybe not, everyone, but at least the ones who are near and dear to my husband. If those could at least try and not just say, oh, there was somebody better before you came along, but I'm the one who's here now. Why can't they try? I do want them to be my mom and my dad too. You get what I mean? So while I can acknowledge that, yeah, I'm not going to get along with all his sisters and all his aunts and all his whatever, but his mom, his the ones who are close to him, I want to be appreciated by them too. Why should that remain a fantasy?
It's so in a perfect world, that's how it should be. But unfortunately, the world is not perfect. To begin with, you don't know why this woman does not want you. So there's a question there to say, if the relatives don't like me, should I then proceed to get married? This is a harsh reality question, I would say, that you want to step back and really figure out what's happening. Usually when you are boyfriend and girlfriend, your person can stand by you, but that person comes from a clan. And when we say when you marry, you are marrying the clan, it's true. It's going to be very difficult for you to have a close relationship with your partner and tear him apart from his family. So you might as well start looking at how he relates with his family and how we've seen marriages, they will survive for some time, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And then the person wakes up, especially if you are tearing him apart from his family. They'll wake up, turn around and say, you are the one who caused the rift between me and my family members. So it's really not a healthy situation to fall in love with someone where the whole family is, against the relationship. It's not the best. While at the same time, it is fantastic to expect them to all love you. There needs to be a balance. I think let Dr. Lisa finish up her point.
Okay, Dr. Lisa, back to your second point. You are on mute. Dr. Lisa, please unmute.
Okay, fine. One of the fantasies that we have as ladies when you are envisioning about marriage, you think that when I get married, this man will use common sense to help me out in the house chores. Or you feel for me when I'm not feeling well, you will cook when I'm not there. Yes, when I'm not there, I'll find he has already made dinner for me. I'm coming from work late. You help me with the laundry, you help me with the children. Maybe when we are going to church, you'll help me to dress up the children so that we are early. But sometimes in reality, you find that there are some men who just sit there. They may actually sit in the car waiting for you to finish dressing up the children for you to go to church. Or better still, they will reverse the car and start hooting that you are delaying them. So you get this fantasy that when we will be doing our things together. When I'm in the kitchen, he's going to come into the kitchen. He's going to be helping me cut tomatoes. When I'm cooking, you'll be doing this for me. Like what we watch in these chick flick movies. The guy is there, he's patting my back, he's doing this, we are doing everything together. Now you get married, there's nothing like that. He's seated there, he's changing channels, he's waiting for you to come back from work and cook. He's waiting for you to, even his own socks, he will not even remove them from his shoes. You will not remove them to put them in the laundry basket. You will not touch a thing. He will expect you to do everything. The time that you were dating, when you are getting out of the car, you will get out of the car first, open your door. When you are getting into the shopping mall, he's holding the plastic bags for you. He's doing all this when you are dating. So you get into marriage thinking that you are going to be doing everything together. He's going to be with me, he's going to help me out, doing all these things. But no, I don't know whether it's the African mentality which sets in them when they get married or what, I don't know. That that thing of helping you will not exist anymore. You will be left alone to do your thing with your children.
Yeah.
I think we are brought up to have clarity on our roles, except nobody has added that women are also doing men's jobs. So you go to work, you come back home, and you still do your role as if you didn't go to work. And the African man hasn't picked this up. But Elder, I sensed you had a comment on the relatives not getting along in marriage. You want to say something on that?
Yeah, basically what I wanted to say was the reality of life is blood is thicker than water.
True.
And by the end of the day, one thing you should learn to know is I grew up with my brothers, I grew up with my sisters, I grew up with my mother. And by the end of the day, even if they have deformities, I've learned to live with those deformities. And should you come in, those things will be so glaring to you, but not to me. So believing that my husband is going to leave everything else and only but cleave to me and forget about his brothers and sisters, it's fantasizing too much. And by the end of the day, what you need to know and the reality of life is, it is very difficult to live where you are not wanted. Irrespective of how much your husband loves you, but it is also difficult to live where you are not wanted. We are not saying you should cut off the relationship if the parents do not love you, but all I'm saying is it is difficult to live where people are talking about you and only referring to the negatives of you. People are not appreciating your effort, and the people are not treating you as an equal. It will be a very difficult situation. Therefore, when you enter into this relationship, make sure you develop a thick skin. Why? Because it will be a difficult life for you, and you have yet started on a very difficult note.
Right. Thank you, Elder. So I am hearing you saying blood is thicker than water. So what the Bible also says, you as a man are supposed to live and cleave to me. Where does it start? Where does it end? If you have chosen me and you have left and you are cleaving to me, at what point are you then uncleaving and going back to your family?
Remember that every time after 5, I leave my workplace to come home. But it doesn't mean I'm no longer employed there. And basically what it means is when we talk of leaving, it does not mean I'll flee from them. Okay. It does not mean I'm going to ignore them and I cease to love them. What it means is I will welcome you, we have a family and everything else based on our principles, but I won't flee from them.
Girls, I sincerely hope you are listening. The elder is saying, I may love you, but it doesn't mean I am going to forget or delete my family from my life. They remain a very a very present foundation of who I am, and they are not going to be easy for me to delete from my life. And then, Elder, the other thing I want you to comment on is the thing of helping each other. I think it's a given that nowadays both the men and the women have jobs away from the home front. Why is it still accepted that a man will come back home and sit and do nothing and expect the woman to have a second job or a third job, because most of our women are already running 2-3 jobs out there? Come back home, cook, sweep, pick up your socks, do everything for you, and you don't do anything. Why is that acceptable? Why is that okay for men?
The problem is you are trying to load information onto a chip that is already full. And the unfortunate thing is you got me, or you dragged me into this relationship with a mindset that is different from yours. The way I was raised, I never got into the kitchen. My mother would beat me and say, we don't want men in the kitchen. And I don't even know where a spoon is and the difference between a pan and a pot. So when I come into this institution, I might want to help you, but the only help that I can give you is to disturb you. So by the end of the day, what you need to know is, should you want someone who has the ability to do that, you must do a background check. Is he not cast in stone? Is he a person who can change? Does he learn fast? Does he accept new things? If he does not in day-to-day issues, never think he's going to pick up his socks and do some dishes.
So girls, I hope you heard that. Do your background check if you don't want this to remain a fantasy. Otherwise, girl, you're gonna be slogging out there by yourself. Dr. D, do you want to go on to your next two fantasies that you have?
Yes, and before I do that, one of the easier ways to do a background check is to see how your person relates with his family, how close he is to the family, and also maybe how even distant he is, how he treats his mother or how she treats her brother, her father. Sometimes people fantasize to think that a person who has bad relationships with his family is going to change, because maybe he's bad-mouthing all his family and treating you as the knight in shining armor who is rescuing him from his family. Whatever you see, what goes around comes around. The way that person is relating with his family is going to multiply it on you. So something like if a person lives, maybe treats bad mouths their ex or treats them badly, they are going to do the same when they are with you. It will be easy for them to leave you or to ill-treat you. So it's true. It's a challenge that we have for us to expect that this person is going to change when they get married. They will not. My next fantasy is to think that if you are married to elder or to pastor or to youth leader or to deacon, it's going to be heaven on earth. Altar and altar, sacrifice and sacrifice. Hello, that's a myth. Yeah, that's a myth. You have to brace up. Or even if you are married to the Sabbath school superintendent and you imagine that your morning worship is going to be amazing with lots of, unfortunately, it's not like that. You have to be strong as an individual and be prepared to take up the altar. Be prepared maybe even to teach the children. And I'm speaking to both girls and boys. The girls especially, they want to take a back bench as far as spirituality is concerned, and they expect men to lead spiritually. You'll be disappointed when you find that youth elder who can recite a lot of stuff in master guide classes does not have time for prayer, does not value worship as much as you do. So that's another reality. And it's very difficult. We find that when we have family life seminars, it's something that women cannot confront. So they will write notes, and we find this many, many times. So now what we do when we have these seminars, we say, write your questions, because these are difficult things to confront. Usually the men get angry or the women get angry. So you got married to this person who was Sabbath school superintendent, and you are thinking, my children are going to be nice pathfinders, nice Christians, but welcome to reality. That woman does not even keep the Sabbath. She's maybe cooking until, late in the evening. Or yeah, it's a lot of that stuff. The people that we see putting up a spiritual front, when you get married, it may not be as you thought.
So this for me then becomes a confusion, because we have just said women have taken on the added role of going out there and finding money, helping the men to find money for the house. And the men have not played game and are not helping in the kitchen. But now you are also saying, I have to step into the priestly role as well. I have to do his role as well. Elder,
Harsh reality.
what do you have to say here?
Yeah,
Harsh reality.
A harsh reality. Yeah, this is harsh reality.
and we also say, welcome to our world. This is exactly what it is like. And by the end of the day, everyone else is free to express whatever he or she thinks, and to call for the ideal. But after you have known the ideal, this is the reality on the shop floor. After you have read through whatever is expected to happen, this is the reality on the shop floor. And it's not going to be washed away. Unfortunately, on here, we cannot say we are recreating the ideal. What we are just doing is we want people to watch out for what is ahead of them. Way back, we did not have this platform. We did not do these discussions. And the people entered into relationship believing the ideal is what they were going to get, especially from the pastor, especially from the elder. And when you get there, you realize what the elder says on the pulpit and the way he lives are two different worlds. Then we say, welcome to reality. And when that reality faces you, now you need to go back and say, did he ever show the spirit of being a person with a good heart, who can change his way, who can listen to advice? And you realize he has been like that before. He has never been like that before. But in your world of fantasy, you painted him red when he was black.
Whew. It's a harsh world, Dr. D. You have a second fantasy that we have out there?
Okay. So harsh reality, I'm happy we are having this discussion, so that like we are always saying, courtship is not, you are not yet in prison. You still have time. And the reason why we are sharing these insights is so that you open your eyes and see if you still want to continue with this relationship, seeing that it's not going anywhere, because these are life and death matters. Okay. And we are also preparing people so that they don't get too disappointed when that happens. You forewarned is forearmed. You get ready to do the altar as well. My other reality, my other fantasy is that people expect to be similar in relationships. They expect to like the same things, to do the same things, to like the same family, same friends, and maybe even have same hobbies. That's a fantasy. You find that usually people are married, but they like different things. You might have pretended to like certain things when you are youths, but when you get into the realities, it's hard to pretend for a long time. And you find that each one are sleeping and going your separate ways. So people imagine that when they get married, they are going to be, like maybe wear tracksuits together and sneakers, go jogging together, exercise, or reading the same thing, doing similar sports. But no, it's not real. even that the way someone relates with you, with other people, he's going to be relating with you in that way. We find couples who are in marriage but are completely different. And the thing is to embrace the differences, the differences, and to survive under what is on your plate. Reality is, it's very difficult to be the same, to like the same things. You find that I liked what one of the youth said. He had put on his profile saying the qualities that I like are not in the body that I see, you know, or or the body that I like, you know,
it doesn't have the qualities
that I like. So reality is that you have to compromise and work with what is there, or make what is there work.
So for me, this liking the same things, putting on the same clothes and stuff, that is exactly in the area of fantasy for me. I think I've always been fairly strong-minded, and I like disagreeing, sometimes for the sake of disagreeing. But this, the same thing has never really appealed to me. But I can imagine the sense of comfort it would give to some people out there, and why they would even fall for that is something that they would want to do. Elder, do you have anything to say here?
Yeah, always remember, when you marry, the fact that something is wrong for you does not mean it's wrong for everyone, even if it's wrong. By the end of the day, there are some people who will watch soccer until early hours of the morning. This is their life. This is what they call happiness. And you cannot call them to bed before the soccer match is finished, especially when the clubs that are playing are the clubs that they support. So there are some of the things that we think are going to be overridden because my interests, being noble, being real, are going to supersede the other person's interest. And let us also note, every time we get to a marriage feast, it's always said it's now a heaven on earth. But remember, the eye has never seen what heaven is like. So we imagine what heaven is like. And by the end of the day, we are trying to recreate that heaven and bring it into our marriages. But unfortunately, the picture of heaven that is in me might not be the picture of heaven that is in the other part. Unless you share the same picture of heaven, you then can create a small heaven on earth.
Thank you, Elder. And I noticed that there are a number of questions that are coming up on the panel. Those questions that we don't attend to, please do not despair. We're going to have a 30-minute session where we will allow you to raise those questions and we'll attend to them in particular. But don't get agitated. You will be given a time for us to handle your questions. Any questions that we have not picked up as they have been put on the chat, we'll be giving you time later on to deal with those questions. Dr. Alaisa, your next two fantasies.
Well, let me start by going back to what the elder said about the soccer match. Sometimes why we have this fantasy as ladies that, okay, the person, of course, it's a fantasy, like it has been well articulated by Dr. D, that you not like the same things, we may not like the same soccer team, but the fantasy that the girl will have is when it's time to sleep, you like me more than the soccer match. Because I think you should like me more than the soccer match, such that you should come to sleep. So because sometimes in the courtship, you make these sacrifices. You see, during courtship, the guy makes these sacrifices, even if his boys are calling him for a soccer match. When I call you to come and visit me, you will come and visit me. So I go with this fantasy that the soccer match will not be more important than I am to you. So which I think it becomes a sad reality when I go to sleep wait for you and you're not even coming, like it's World Cup time, when even because of the time zone, maybe the soccer matches at 3 a.m., 12 midnight and like that. So it's actually a sad reality which these girls should brace up for. Like I mentioned earlier, that the things that the guys put during courtship will be turned when we get married. One of the things, one other, what is this? One other fantasy. Yes. One other fantasy which we have when we are getting married is the issue of transparency when it comes to finances. The issue that when we get married, my husband will be telling me how much money he's making. I'll be knowing his pay slip. Everything is going to be transparent. As much as during courtship, you'll be trying to tell me that I'm doing this deal. So you get married and you get a shock of your life that this person is not even declaring. His mother may actually know the money that he's making more than you. You know, I mean, so you get into marriage thinking that, oh, we are going to put our monies together. As a woman, I'm trained, I'm told that what you work for is for the family. You declare your money, you put your money on the table, and now there comes the husband. The husband will not declare his money, and he's saying it's not. What am I not providing? If you have food in the pantry, what else do you want? If your car has fuel, why do you want to know my salary? What else do you want? So it becomes a sad reality that you find some people. Actually, it's the ideal thing, like what Dr. D has mentioned, that we want the ideal, but sadly, the ideal does not always okay. You want your finances to be open, but you get shocked the other person is not declaring their finances. So it's one fantasy that you get into marriage with. Our finances will be everything, we'll do everything together. When I want to buy this, you'll give it. Even apart from him declaring the fantasy, is the issue of him providing for all my needs. When I say, because when you were boyfriend and girlfriend, sometimes even I remember maybe my husband before, you would take me to the salon. You would be the one to go to the hairdresser, pay the hairdresser, and tell me that I've already paid the hairdresser when you get time pass through the hair salon. Now I can get these braids for 2 months, 3 months without even him noticing. Even I ask him, I now need to change this hairstyle. You ask you, why do you want to change it? He's still okay, but he's the one who was pampering me. So I get into marriage with this fantasy that whatever I need, you'll be there for me. When you are dating, you text him, I no longer have airtime, he buys you airtime. I don't have that, he buys you that, like that. So you get into marriage with a fantasy that whatever I say, even before I cough, you buy the medication. So now you get into marriage, it's far from that, far from it. Maybe you before even you buy or takes you to the doctor, even you ask you, did you get the guava leaves? Did you use ginger? Did you use zubani? All these things. And you were thinking that is going to be to be there for me. So it's a sad reality. You get into marriage, you think your needs are going to be met just like that. Your financial needs, you think they're going to be met like that, but unfortunately it doesn't happen like that. And the issue that maybe the second one will be when you get married, you think we will be all by ourselves. My husband and I.
Before you get to the second one, Dr. Alisa, I want us to talk about this financial fantasy. I can't see why it's a fantasy, because if I'm going to trust someone, I think there has to be a certain level of trustworthiness in them. And this goes to the heart of money. Let me know what you are doing, how much you are worth, we are worth, because after all, the two of us are together. So for me, this is not an area that ideally should be on the fantasy shelf. This is an area where it is the heart of a marriage. And from my profession, I happen to know that finances are one of the biggest causes of divorce. So for me, this, if it remains in the fantasy shelf, it's the undoing of many marriages. I don't know what you have to say, Dr. D. Elder, I'll come to you. I know you want to say, you have to say something on this, but Dr. D, from your psychological side, what do you have to say about this?
I just want us to remember what we are doing here. We are talking about realities versus fantasy.
Yeah.
And while it should not be fantasy that people are going to be open with each other, unfortunately, it ends up looking like a fantasy because a lot of people are not open with their finances, including women. So that's a huge challenge. And I like what somebody said there, that we waste time talking about vain things. Yes, so what are you doing? Are you thinking about me? And not maybe taking time to delve into real matters, which might also give you an indication of how much in-depth discussion you are going to be having when you really get married. Because it's very difficult for people to discuss. So we are just bringing to you what we come across in the marriage realms, what people talk about, and what people are not even able to confront with each other. They will rather write questions or send you a message on the phone and say, please talk about finances. I don't even know. We've been married 23 years. I don't know how much he earns. He doesn't disclose what he's doing. Some people will not even say where they are going. They'll just either disappear or they'll say, Chambo Buddha, I'm going out, I'm going to meet someone somewhere because we've got something to discuss. Right. You know, that's yeah. And so to then even be able to ask them about how much they're earning or what they are using it for some relationship, it has become a fantasy, unfortunately, but those are harsh realities.
So I've said that this is one of the biggest causes of divorce, Elder. And yet we have a lot of men out there who will say, I'm going somewhere to see someone to talk about something to their wives. What do you have to say about this, Elder?
I hope you agree to me that UK is there, it's a reality. And nobody is not allowed to go to the UK. But for some, it will remain fantasy to believe they are going to be in the UK. They will never be there, even though the reality on the shop floor is the UK is real. So by the end of the day, the same applies to this issue of finances, like what Dr. Eliza said. There are some people who discuss these issues with their spouses. But the fact that someone else is doing it does not mean in your relationship it will happen in like manner. And you believing it is going to be like so, because this is the ideal. Now, on this platform, we are telling you it does not happen because it is happening next door. It only happens when you didn't fantasize in the period of fantasy or in the period of dating. You need to find a person who is exactly the same like the person who was doing it in terms of mannerisms. So by the end of the day, when we say marriages are breaking because of this, it is because people fantasize. And when they fantasize, what was the outcome? The outcome was the marriage is broke. And we are discussing this issue now. People have their ideals. People have got their destination. They have got their dreams. And they ignore these facts. Why? Because they are in a world of fantasy. And it is difficult for us to wake them up so that they listen to reality.
Exactly. Because
the elder is saying, whilst this is something that can break marriages, there's a time for you to be able to get onto this person that you are dating, understand who they are and whether you can live with them or whether they have the transparency that you require in this area. Dr. D.
Yes, closely linked to this is the fantasy that, let me say, the assumption that he is going to love your clan, that he's going to love and respect your clan, and that he's going to take care of them. Unfortunately, and people don't discuss before they get married. They just get in there thinking things are going to work out without them putting an effort. We are finding a lot of couples struggling where someone is strong. I don't even know where these beliefs come from, because I don't know whether we can even call them cultural beliefs. But we are coming across a lot of family men who think of family as their family only, as because you are going to change your name, you now belong here. They even get angry if someone says, I want to go to my relative or to my home, because they'll say, where is your home? I thought this was your home, so you are not wholly here. And they will not take responsibility or take care of the other family members except theirs. So if I'm married to the Dubes, all our resources should be for the Dubes. And where you come from, Nis Banda, well, we might here occasionally maybe give them something, and it's treated as some kind of charity, you know, and you have to be nice for me to be able to take care of them. We actually have men, all, you know, like a whole elder complaining of taking care of his mother-in-law, because it should be my wife's brothers doing that. I cannot be building, putting up a roof there. I cannot be buying her blankets. It's the role of her brothers, because she is now here, and I should be taking care of my family, and you know, her brothers should be doing that. So you might want to step back and maybe discuss some of these things. How are we going to be taking care of our families? When I get married and I take your name, does that mean I am also throwing away all my relatives and I can't take care of them? And I'm happy we are talking about this, so that you don't walk in there blindly and then write us notes and send us messages when you find that your mother is starving while you are living in a double-story house because this man believes somebody else should be doing it, and you are married. You can't even be taking your money to your parents.
Harsh reality indeed. We are talking about marriage, the fantasies, and the reality. Dr. Laisia, you are just about to give us your second fantasy.
Yes, my second fantasy is linked to what Dr. D has just said, is the issue of extended family. You get into marriage thinking that, okay, it will be just the two of us, our family, like your nuclear family. But you get into this family with there's lots of interference from extended family, something maybe you're not even used to that from your own family. Now you get to where the tetes, your husband's sisters, you have to detect what you're supposed to wear. They have to tell you where the children are supposed to go to school. Not only that, you're supposed to send their children to school. You're supposed to do all these things. For you, you were thinking, okay, if we are working, we budget our money like this. But even before you do your budget, you have to send money to send your sister-in-law's child to school. So you get into you get into marriage. I mean, some people, you get married. From your honeymoon, you are told now you are going to be staying with this muzukuru before you even have your own children. You are given someone to take care of before your own children. So it's a one harsh reality that sometimes you are not prepared for. You are not prepared for, how do I react to this extended family? How am I supposed, do I even have the right to say, no, our money is not enough this month. We have our things, we had budgeted to buy a fridge, or we wanted to put DSTV. Do I have the right to say I wanted to put DSTV when they are telling me Mzukuru wants school fees kumusha? So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. So yeah, the fantasy is, I get there, we do our own thing. My husband and I, my family, the nuclear family is just us, and people will know that it's just us. But with the type of our families, where I mean, my extended family is so much, is central to us, that you cannot tell them that even I want to go to a women ministers congress. we need money. Like you have to finance all everyone's things. So it's a hard.
Thank you, Dr. Liza. So this is true, ladies, please take note that whereas in our culture, marriage is something that involves the entire family. Your responsibility enlarge the moment that you actually become married. However, Hollywood has fed us the myth that marriage is just between me and my husband. And a lot of us have imbibed from that. And we want to have that nuclear family. But our culture will not allow that. Dr. D, do you have any comment on this?
Yes, I have. And I just want to clarify that today we are talking about fantasies and reality. We are not saying this is what all marriage is about, but we are also trying to help you so that when things happen to you, you don't get depressed, you don't think it's the end of the world. When you understand that this is what's happening, we are hoping that you are forewarned and hopefully forearmed. You can actually then be looking out for some of these telltale signs and be discussing some of these things. The challenge may be that we find in most married couples is not so much that they have to take care of maybe extended family, but it's the myth that we are going to sit down and discuss and agree. Okay. The reality is that something is just going to be thrust at you, or maybe you're just going to see something happened already, So those are the realities. And maybe you might be proactive to try and iron out or discuss certain things. I would say those are some of the challenges.
Thank you, Dr. D. Elder, you want to add something?
Yes, I was reading to a comment here, which says today is the fantasies of women only. It's only that it's women who are speaking a lot on our chat, but these fantasies do not belong to women only. These are universal. They are in men, they are in women. If you are a man, just convert it to the he component. And if you are a woman, to the she component. These things affect us on both sides the same way. It's not a one-way traffic thing.
Okay, except next week is when we are going to be dealing with the men's fantasies. For this week, we are looking at what women fantasize about. Thank you, Elder. So we have 5 minutes before we open the platform to questions and comments from the rest of you. I will take one more fantasy from each one of you, and then we open the platform for people to come in. Dr. D, you had given us your comment. You want to give us your last fantasy?
Okay, I just wanted to say that while courtship is exciting and he is all over you and maybe spending all his time with you and stuff and very exciting, marriage is the end of courtship in some relationships, and things change. Our center of attention changes. So marriage is filled with a lot of other responsibilities. There are bills to pay, there are relatives to take care of, or conflict to resolve. Even when babies come, also the realities are that babies may not come. And when they do, they are not just a bundle of love wrapped in a fluffy blanket. They cry, they get ill, they require money to be taken care of. They take away from your time. Those are some of the realities. And unfortunately, some people may not be cut out to withstand all these things. So you want to be on the lookout to see that your person is not also just living in some fantasy world and are expecting to float on the cloud. They need to be practical. They need to be grounded to be able to take care of other challenges that might come because they are real. Another fantasy is that your person is going to stand by your side all the time and stand up for you all the time. Unfortunately, we have seen some people who are not men enough or maybe women enough to be able to stand by their spouses or their partners. And sometimes you might have to brave it all alone, unfortunately. That's a harsh reality.
Harsh reality indeed. Thank you, Dr. D. Dr. Liza?
Okay, I think during courtship, the way people resolve conflicts is different, somewhat different from the way people resolve conflicts when they are married. In a courtship setting, a guy may back off, a guy may just say, okay, whatever.
Dr. Eliza? We seem to have lost Dr. Eliza. Elder, you want to jump in while we wait for her?
Yeah, the other thing, the unfortunate thing is women always say it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. And let me not overemphasize this. The world is not fair. It will never be fair. And this is the world that we are living in. And expecting fairness is also some form of fantasy. So by the end of the day, what we need to know is we must be ready for reality. And we must be ready for the fight. We must stand up and walk tall and gather all the energy that we do require. Unfortunately, the most popular platforms nowadays are platforms where we reinforce the fantasies instead of telling people that after fantasizing, wake up and see reality.
I totally agree with that. To say that things may not be fair. Another fantasy is to think that if you do good for people, they are going to be grateful. Hello, they may not even be grateful. They might actually turn around and spite the good that you're trying to do. So we want to normalize these things so that you don't beat yourself up. Maybe this person is generally not grateful. Okay, so don't expect that good people are going to, everything is going to be okay because you've done all you can. Unfortunately, maybe not.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. D. So from what I hear the two of you saying, it's got something to do with resilience in a person. We're building up resilience and your capacity to be able to handle disappointments and still carry on in a healthy manner. So we are now opening the platform for questions and comments from everyone. Tino, if you are still there, please open up the platform so that people are able to speak. You can also just raise your hand and I should be able to unmute you if you want to speak. So you can just raise your hand and then we will be able to assist you. Questions? All right, Bright Chimoyo. You can speak up. You should be able to unmute now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So I have this question, like, what's then the difference like between fantasizing and then dreaming of having like a good marriage? And then, so is there like a difference? Should I not dream of having a good marriage, like having somebody loving me and loving my family? And is it not then fantasizing also? So I just want to have a clarity on the difference between fantasizing.
Very good question. Dr. D, you want to handle that?
Thank you. I think there were a lot of examples that we got when we started earlier. So these things, there are some things that are actually impossible, right? Like what we spoke about, where everyone likes you and your wife likes all your relatives and they get along. Those things are not really practical. Because you find that even in your own family, you love each other, but you don't quite get along with everyone. you are likely to have conflict even with your parents or with your siblings. So it's safe to imagine that this is, it's not practical. To dream of nice things is okay. And as Dr. Eliza said, we then have to work for those things. So while London, going to UK might be a fantasy for some people, it's a reality for others, right? And the reason why we are having these discussions is not to scare you to not get married, but is for you to open your eyes. Where they say love is blind, we are saying, no, open your eyes, double while we are dating, so that you can see the red flags and maybe cut off the relationship. Because if it's not working now, and if you are seeing the red flags, if you ignore them, they are going to multiply. And also for you to be out there with your eyes open double, so that you can see the person that you want and see that they can make your dreams a reality. This is your chance to make sure that you get the right person who can make your dream a reality. Otherwise, if you look really closely, some of the people that you are dealing with, all these things that your aspirations are actually fantasies based on the person that you are dating, their values, where they come from, and everything.
Thank you, Dr. D. So you are saying it is perfectly okay to dream, to fantasize about having a happy marriage. You just need to be wise during courtship so that you are actually capable of getting a happy marriage. Mm-hmm. The next one is Mare. You can speak up, Mare.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, so my question is, how in marriage do you deal with perhaps a partner who's still living in fantasy or who's not coming into reality with what's there on the ground and perhaps frustrated?
Elder, you want to deal with that?
Yeah, it's basically there are two ways of dealing with this. It's very difficult for you to deal with it, especially if the victim believes you are the perpetrator of this evil act. So trying to make a sense when in real life the fight is against you can be a very difficult one. But if the person who is trying to give the advice here is an outsider, one might be able to see sense where she could not have done so before. Then also, it also speaks to the nature of the person we are dealing with. There are some people who are not prepared to live their dreams. There are some people who are not prepared to have any diversion. And there are some people who have their dreams cast in stone. Whatever they wanted is exactly what must happen. Now, these ones, they need a professional counseling. That's why we have got psychologists. That's why we've got Dr. D's there. These people require professional counseling because we are dealing with something that is bigger than them.
Thank you, Elder. And we have a question that's been posted here.
Sorry, madam, before you go to the question, so the question that he asks there is pertinent. It's unfortunate that if you are already in a relationship and you didn't see it coming, there is a problem. But you, as Elder says, you might want to, one of the work that needs to be done with that person is to figure out why they are living in that fantasy. What does it mean to them? What's causing them to be locked in that cloud and not come down to earth?
Okay, I hope, Mara, I see your hand is still up. Do you have an addition to your question?
Thanks, I'm answered, thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks. The question I wanted to read says, what if she always attacks the father because he didn't raise her? Is respect to the father based on what the father did to her? Dr. D, you might want to take that one.
quite interesting that that aspect is actually coming up, because so this person is blaming their father for not raising them up all right. There is a time when fantasy should give way to reality. Father was supposed to have, so part of resolution of that is to then work things out. We don't even know that this person was not properly raised by the father. It also might not be a reality. And we also don't know what realities that father was engrossed in for him to not be able to raise their children. My hunch is that if a person has poor relationships with their parents, that if that attitude is pathological, it's likely to come into your relationship as well. So we might need to then work on resolving their attitude towards the father, coming to peace even with the bad, like with the bad parenting styles of the father, coming to peace with that so that it doesn't interfere with your now and your future.
Okay.
May I also add upon that? You see, basically being bitter with something can also affect the thing that you do not want to be affected by that. And by being bitter with our past, we might also be doing injustice to our present. And the people who are bitter with someone else might also be bitter with us, because this is how they relate to people who stood in their way. So for everyone else who has been wronged, it is also proper to make sure these issues are addressed. If they are supposed to be met head on, discussed and put to rest, we need to do this, because it will always come knocking on our door.
Okay. So another thing that you have to look out for, do these people have issues that are big issues that need to be resolved? Then the other question that I saw, I've seen the hands that are up. There are 3 of you so far. I'll come back to you. The other question is, one of the things that ladies fantasize about is having a big white wedding. And yet most men look at this, consider this to be a waste of money. How do we resolve this? Elder, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, basically, when you want a big white wedding, it must be known when you are dating that you want a big white wedding. Okay. And it must be known how relevant it is to you. So that by the end of the day, remember, when you are wedding, it is your wedding. It is your thing. It's not about us. It's not about anyone else. It's about you. But if you are the first person not to enjoy your wedding, there is a problem. So by the end of the day, that's the reason why we said we then need to work up and work towards achieving the big wedding that we want. Why? Because if it is within our capacity to do so, it is not a sin to do something big. It's not a sin to do something nice. So if we can shower ourselves with this present, why not?
Why not? Okay. Elder, yeah, okay, Dr. D, you can carry on.
Yeah. Remember we spoke about personalities and stuff. So it should be known while you are dating that this is what you want, but you should also date a person with similar things if you cannot make adjustments, because it's going to take 2 to be in that. Maybe your person is shy and they prefer something quiet and private. That's what I say. That's why I said that so the big white wedding becomes a fantasy, or the private wedding becomes a fantasy, because a big white wedding is not a bad thing. A private wedding is not a bad thing. You two are just different. So if you cannot reconcile, if you cannot adjust, then we have a problem. Okay. And you are going to have more problems in life.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. D. We are now going to you, Siveso Kalaluka. I hope I got your name right. I have asked you to unmute. Please give us your question.
Okay, yes, you got it right. It's just a concern hearing everything that has been talked about, and it's very insightful. But my question comes in, okay, more like a concern. We said I learned that men, for example, on the football example, like right now, if you call him, he will come running to you. And then when during marriage, he might not come to sleep when you expect him to come and sleep. And then looking at all these things, how are we sure if for example, I have a boyfriend, I have talked to him about maybe what we expect, we've talked about all these important financial issues. How sure am I that the answers that he is giving me while we are courting, he is not just pretending? How sure am I? Because if he can pretend on the football right now, like how sure am I that in future he's not actually pretending? And how do I choose the right person? You know, so it's just like a concern because these facts are scary.
True that. And I like your question, Sibeso, because we have a saying in my language that says, Rume rino nyenga rino warara. Rino zosimudza musoro rarora. That in English just merely means every man who asks out a girl is going to lie, but his true character will come out when he marries. Elder, talk to us about that. How are we able to assess as ladies that this person who is at this point in time able to forego soccer at 3 a.m. or at whatever time to be with me, that they will actually continue to do that when we get married?
Normally, on issues of life, we do not rely on answers that have been given. I hope so you agree with me that in an examination class, you find he who has no clue on what has been asked will be busy writing. And you find they write more content than the ones who know exactly what has been asked. So by the end of the day, we cannot rely on whether a person has said something or he hasn't said something. But what we interrogate is the way of life. How does this person live? Are there any obsessions? Is he addicted to this specific type of life? So much so that we have to interrogate his or her way of life. So by the end of the day, the advice that I would give you is normally when we start asking questions, something is amiss. And when we realize that something is amiss, we better do a due diligence on our own, asking others, seeing from our own perspective, and making the correct decisions. Because a man might say yes when he never thought about it. It's not like he meant to say no. He never thought about the issue. And by the end of the day, you believe he said yes, when in real life, he never thought about it.
Okay, I hope you got that, Sibeso. The elder is saying wisdom. You need to be really wise about how you get the responses, the actual answers that you want from the person you're going to live with. Eleanor? Dr. D, you wanted to say something?
Yes, the part of why we are discussing this is to normalize. And we use normalization as one skill that's very helpful. Because people get distressed, they get disgruntled, they get dissatisfied about their relationships because they think what's happening is not normal. And what we are bringing to you here is that some of the things that you thought happen are fantasy. And so if they are fantasy, what then do? We then make, we use what is there, we work with what is there, or we make what is there work. I said that earlier. And part of it maybe includes adjusting your expectations and maybe seeing love as not necessarily jumping into bed with you when there's a soccer match, but appreciating that love is still there, soccer match or no soccer match, seeing love in other ways, seeing value in your relationship in a lot of other ways instead of the fantasy that you had, not being cast in stone as well, to have certain expectations and then use those to define what marriage and happiness is. You can still be happy while someone enjoys soccer and you don't. And while he's watching soccer, maybe you're doing other things. You can be different and still be happy. And adjust your expectations as well. If he was giving you money for data and bundles, whatever, maybe now he's taking care of the children, and that's still an expression of love.
Thank you, Dr. D. Dr. Laisa, welcome back. We had missed you. Eleanor, we are coming to you now. I have asked you to unmute.
Okay. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My question is, yes, you alluded to this during the conversation. I would like that maybe it's explained even more. When we say each individual is going to leave their family and cleave, what do we mean by leaving? Because it looks like sometimes people leave physically, like to relocate to a different physical location. But in terms of decision making, the other party is still dependent on their parent. So it becomes as if this marriage is owned by this family that you have married into. You have no entitlement to the ownership of it. So your decision making has to be consulted elsewhere. And then if this person, what we discussed is validated at your end, it goes. But if it's not going to go. So if, yes, you marry into a family, but who owns your marriage? Is it the two of us, or the clan where we are is the one which is owning us?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I'll ask both of you to attend to it. I see that Dr. Lisa seems to have dropped again. Elder, you want to give it the first shot?
Yeah, basically the first thing that we would want to appreciate is what does the term live mean? Does it mean physical living? Does it mean someone is no longer anything to do with the family that raised him up? Me, I believe when two people get married, they are building their own family on their own terms, using their own principles. They have an objective, the two of them. It is not necessarily the objective of the family that was there, but they might be having their own objectives and the way to achieve them. But in the process, this institution is not created in a vacuum. The living aspect now does not mean all the other institutions dissolve. They still remain. And there are also other expectations that are put on this institution by the existing institutions. For example, we say a person should take care of his or her own parents. That automatically means when the lady leaves her parents, it does not mean then she has to neglect them. Basically, what it means is she is building a family, yes, but they are also part of the family that she or he is building. So when a man leaves, what it basically means is you are building something together, but it does not mean in a vacuum.
Yes,
Dr.
Elder.
D, you want to add to that?
Yes, we want to help young people to not then think that we are making our own decisions. Hey, this is our family. Hey, this is our guys. You have to be strategic to make sure that you are using ways that work. Otherwise, if you try to fight things, it's going to be my way or the highway. You lose out everything. We have seen people who love each other destroy their own marriages because people have got these fantasies where they think because we should be doing this, we should be, because it's us. You need to be strategic. Sometimes you may see that the family is influential, and families are influential because of different reasons. Maybe they have some sort of control, maybe they are powerful, maybe they have got finances, maybe your spouse maybe was a sickling and they feel like they have to protect him. It's a host of things. It's not, I don't know if you want to waste your energies trying to correct a whole generation, you know, and I don't know how happy you are going to be when you've torn him apart from his family and taught them that you are now a unit and you should make your own decisions. Sometimes you work with what is there, or you make that which is there to work, which might be maybe approaching a younger brother or younger sister or whoever is influential to sell your idea. knowing that because he listens to his family, if it's going to come from there, things work. Because what you want is for your marriage to work and for things to happen. And whatever it's going to take, as long as if it's safe and you can use it, why not? If you're already there and he is controlled by his parents, it may be a lost cause to try and pull him away, tear him away from his family. It's tough, but those are harsh realities.
Okay, wise words from Dr. D. So she's saying take a long-term approach, choose your battles wisely, and find ways that will continue to protect your marriage, but will also work for you to get the things that you want to get from that marriage. And then our last question, or the only hand that's up now, is Mamo Musa. Mamo, I have asked you to unmute. Please, let's have your question.
Hi and good morning, Auntie. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Mine is not necessarily a question, but allow me to just add on to what the elder just said regarding this question on living and cleaving. I have been very fortunate to be a part of a lot of marriage counseling sessions. And allow me to say, this is one thing that comes back every so often. People that we have had for premarital counseling come back after they have been married, or people that we never had an opportunity to have marital counseling with come back with the living and cleaving issue. And this is something, we have been married for 25 years. This is something that has worked for us, and allow me to share this. When the Bible says, this is my own understanding, my own interpretation of the Bible, so I could be wrong, but guess what? It has worked for us. And it has worked for some other individuals that we have talked to. This is number one. The Bible says, a man shall live. There has to be physical living for cleaving to happen. And when I say live, I am not talking about financially not supporting your family. I'm not talking about not going to visit the in-laws. No, absolutely not. God knew that men have an issue with living, and that is a fact. Guess what? And guess what makes it even harder? Women have no issues with living. When I was going to get married to the husband, guess what? I was so ready to leave. I was already planning my house. I was already planning the furniture that I was going to set up in my house. I was already planning on changing my name. I was even planning on, trying the new signature and how it was going to happen. Women have no issues, generally have no issues living. It is the man that has issues with living, and God himself knew that. So we have to understand that and not try to say, oh, well, it's not physically. No, it is actually literally physically living. So what I mean by this, look at this. I am a mother. I have a 20-some-year-old boy. I am so attached to this guy. He loves his mom. Every morning he has to come and give his mother, a hug, some love and whatnot. The same relationship Yandinayo with my girl child is different from the boy. Guess what? I have to help mwana wangu the day that he gets married. And I have to pray for myself, Kutumari, help me so I can allow my child to go. This is the first child who sucked on my breast. My breasts were very sensitive. This is the kid who took the sensitivity off of my breast. I want you to underline that. This is the first child I held in my hands. This is the child who had 3 brain surgeries, and I was in the hospital, sleepless nights, so many nights. So I am attached to this boy child. But guess what? When he leaves, he is still attached to his mother. Pane umbilical cord inonetsa kudambura. That is why God said this umbilical cord has to be physically cut. Vanamai, if there are any mothers on this platform listening to this, let's allow, if there are any parents right here, fathers as well, who are on this platform, let's allow our children to physically leave. When they come back to us for advice, we can advise them, but let's allow our children to say, Mwanangu, you are now married. Chenda onita your own decision with your own wife. I don't care how powerful I am. I don't care how much money I make. Now there is a daughter-in-law who is now a wife to my son, and she should take precedence in my son's life. It doesn't matter how powerful my husband is, we should not interfere with our children. If Wanawedu are getting to a point, Auntie, where they are failing because of interference from one family because they are powerful, then as Christians, we have failed. We have dismally failed. Let's physically cut the umbilical cord, allow our kids to fly. They will fail if they have to. We also failed at some point. Let's allow our children to figure things on their own. We don't have to baby them once they say, I do. Let's leave our children alone. They will flourish. If they need help, yes, let them come and ask for help. But we need to say, as a mother and as a father, who is a God-fearing mother, Mwanangu, dzokera kumkadzi wako and talk to your wife. You are now married. I don't have to tell you all these things. Where is your wife in this? That is my take on this.
Thank you very much, Mamo. Our time is failing us, unfortunately, and we have two more people who have their hands up. But those are true words that you are saying, that as Christians, we need to take on board, that we should allow our children to actually live and cleave. Emma, your hand was up first. If you could make your question very short, because we are fast running out of time. I've asked you to unmute.
Happy Sabbath. I just want to ask, since we have been learning about realities and the fantasies, and I'm asking now if probably my fantasies, I actually think and do believe they can be realized, they can come to reality. And maybe the guy is actually thinking you're fantasizing. Now, how are you to go about that when you really believe that probably if we can talk and do this, we can resolve things and I can live in my ideal world, but maybe he cannot? How should I take that?
Elder, you want to help us with that?
If you are, yes, I would say, like we are saying, the advice that we would give to people who are not yet married, who are dating, is you must be equally yoked. But you do get someone who does not dream as big as you do, who does not fly as high as you would want to fly. Chances are you will never fly. Why? Because for him, everything is impossible. I remember when the first plane was invented, people were saying, this thing will never take off. It is too big to take off. And when it took off, they say it will never land. There's no way it is going to come down. There are such people on earth. So by the end of the day, if you are still dating, the best thing to do, the only favor that you can do for yourself is not to try and improve that person, but it is to try and run. But if you are already married to someone, what you need to do is like what Dr. D said, try and make it work. Try and see life from his perspective. Try and encourage him. Try and make sure you get results out of this rather than conflicts.
Thank you, Elder. Nazreen, I have asked you to unmute. Please keep your question short.
I have a question. How do I deal with the problem that, or the fantasy of a person, of a lady who says you should sense things? When I'm not feeling happy, you should know. When I am sick, you should know, you should sense this thing. I'm not a nganga, and you do not sense that this is the most important match of an entire season. So if you can't sense that this soccer match is very important, that I come to bed, how then am I expected to sense that this is not making you happy or this is making you happy?
Thank you, Dr. D.
Nazrin, Shah, you need to invest in this relationship. That's what you need to do. You really need to invest, and it's worth your while. If someone says you should sense, don't be defensive. Try and understand what they mean. Let them know that you want to learn, you want to sense. And, you know, it's not, it should not be a win-win situation. And maybe if you really take your time, you might be able, maybe you need to ask a few questions. And you need, I think take home message is you need to be in the right mood, wanting to understand this person, because it's going to benefit you when you do. If you've not been able to say the boss was angry, even though he doesn't say I was angry, if you've not been able to see that this person was anxious, this person was happy, are you not able to sense those things? I think these are just words that this woman is using on you because she feels that you are not there, you don't quite hear them. And the first thing you need to do is to have the attitude to want to understand this person because it's worth your while. Yeah, that's my take.
Thank you very much, Dr. D. Unfortunately, we are already past our time. And I know that there are people who have other programs starting from 4, so we are forced to come to a hard stop. Dr. D, do you have any final words in 5, 10 seconds? Thank you.
I have final words. Ladies and gentlemen, there are things that the Bible tells us, and those things are very important and they are true, and they are for an ideal relationship. But sometimes we get into relationships which are not so ideal. The world is not so bleak. You might waste your energies trying to make that person perfect, or even the in-laws. It's okay for parents they should release their children, but sometimes they don't. Don't waste your energies in trying to change them. Work with what is there. It's possible and it works. Marriage is beautiful. Been married for almost 30 years and I am happily married ever after. Working with what I have and making it work. I thank you.
She has a beautiful husband. Elder, do you have anything to say by way of farewell to the young ladies?
Yes, to add upon what Dr. D has said, if the world of fantasy, if your dreams are to come true, make sure you are in control of the dreams. And by the end of the day, as long as you have the absolute control of that dream, it will definitely happen. But as long as it is also dependent on someone who might be having different dreams, it might be a nightmare. So what you need to know is when you want to fantasizing in areas where you are in absolute control. Like the heel I would want to put on and the weight I would want to gain. If you are in absolute control, please go ahead and fantasize.
Thank you very much, Elder. Thank you, everyone. For next week, we are looking at marriage, fantasies, and reality as they pertain to the boys. So be here, do not lose out. Meanwhile, God bless and stay safe. Bye, everyone.